Hi, Gammon. How you doing? Okay, I've got your workout now. You know what? You might hear a lawnmower start in a second here. It looks like there's somebody outside getting ready to do some landscape work. So I'm sorry about that. But at any rate, take a look at the presentation. You have your initial sketch. You have a lot of your preliminary work here, and we're kind of beyond this stage by now. By now, right now, you should be in your design development, the second part of your design development phase three, which means you should be concentrating on placement of logo, etc. So you've got your preliminary work here. So you got your pictogram examples, and these are good because I think they match very well in terms of continuation of visual language you've set up with the actual logo itself. So that the visual characteristics carry through very well to the pictograms themselves. So good job there. I want to mention something about your final logo. You got your black and white version, which of course that would also double as your white version on a darker color. So that would be the same. But these two versions right here, you've got two color versions of your logo. That's something that would really kind of goes against all rules of branding, where you really have one logo and one set of colors. Otherwise, it gets convoluted and confusing. I would narrow this down to one final choice and stick with that as your final logo. So you would have two logos, really, a color version and a black version, or subsequently the reverse of the black, which is the white on color. So let's move down to your tickets. I think the tickets look pretty cool. The colors that you've chosen for the background of the tickets aren't described at all, and that would be known as what we've been referring to as the fifth element, supporting graphics. So I would like to see in your presentation, like to see how you came across these fifth element items and how they are inspiration and how are they related to your actual presentation itself. So in other words, what do they signify in terms of sign and symbol? What are they symbolic of, and why are you using them to support your graphics? I think that's a really super important consideration there, Gannon. That's kind of where the fifth element items meet the concept development stage for a cohesive presentation. So in other words, everything has got to make sense in this being a conceptually driven project. Okay, now you've got the tickets, and one thing I want to mention about the tickets is they are somewhat inconsistent, because on this ticket you have the pictogram on the left, on this ticket you have the pictogram on the left, and then on this ticket you have the pictogram on the right. So keep those consistent. I also think the tickets are lacking a lot of information. If you want to take a look, I think one of the best things to do for your tickets, boy, by the way, I think the color version would look fantastic up there, by the way. Color version meaning I think this one is a little bit stronger. I think it's got a lot more variety. It's a little more interesting, mechanically sound in terms of interesting harmonies. So I would move forward with that as your final logo. Placement of the color logo. Okay, so you've got alpine skiing, curling. Now I would place more graphics on the tickets themselves. I think a really great thing to do is let's do it together. Let's go right over here. I'm going to go to File, New Window in Safari, and I'm just going to do an image search. Let's say Olympic tickets, event tickets, and it comes right up because I've shared this with other students. And I'm just going to go to Images, and you get a ton of ideas of how to create the tickets themselves. So this is something that I would definitely research on the tickets in terms of making them realistic and adding these realistic. Let me go to this page because I think this is interesting because it shows a nice close-up of the actual ticket itself, right? Maybe it's not that page. Okay, so I'm not real sure exactly where that is. I thought I had it before. Okay, so just, I don't want to spend too much time looking for that, but definitely do some research here on these. And all I did again is Olympic event tickets, and I did an image search on that. So that will give you a lot of ideas on how to complete the Olympics to give them more of an authentic feel. Moving on to the poster, I think the poster looks good. The poster looks great. Again, we've got these fifth element items. Boy, we need to get those explained so that they make sense at this point. And then this is inconsistent right here. Let me show you what I mean. Right here, you're showing a version of the logo that's white on the color, which that would correspond with this being the black on white. It would be the reverse of this, which would be white on a color. So this is white on a color. However, you've added this color stroke. And nowhere in your accepted logos, your final logo, you're not showing that variation of the logo. So that points to an inconsistency. I would just go white on that. I don't think you need the stroke. I think the stroke is actually impeding visibility here instead of enhancing it. T-shirts look fantastic. Again, you've got your two logos though, so pick one and stick with it. And you know, like I said, I think this one's more mechanically sound, but that's strictly up to you. Okay, so those would be my comments moving forward. I would love to see more progress at this point. I think we're a little underdeveloped in terms of the phase 3 design development. I would have liked to see more placement items and just more ideas of how you're going to brand your Olympics and how you're going to show this branding and identify with the spectator through several different variations of logo placement, fifth element placement, and branding package with the supporting graphics as well as the main graphics. So not unlike what you've done here, just a little more variety. All right, so okay, so this week we're moving into final presentation. So we'll have to have everything, all your phase 1 info, research, and data gathering, your phase 2 concept design, everything should be ready to go. Now, don't forget, this isn't a style guide, so you don't need all your preliminary work in the final presentation. I want to show you some examples of the final presentation. Whoops. I want to show you some examples of final presentation. I'll go over to the classroom, and I'm sure you may have seen this by now, but if I just go over to announcements, and I posted this announcement right here, welcome to week 7, and then right down here you have these 4 4-year inspirations. Study these, go through these. These are very, very successful student submissions for Olympic projects. So take a look at those, see what's done right, and see how you can use those for inspiration and adding some of those elements to your own work. All right, any questions, please let me know. Thanks, Kevin.